Welcome to Corley's Corner, episode 3. Today's episode, I interview Gunter Plank, and he gives us a little bit of insight into refereeing, scoring, judging, what he's accomplished with IFMA, a little bit about what his seminar is going to look like at the World Games qualifiers. Jeff, if you can tell us why Gunter's such an important part of Muay Thai.
He's one of the head officials of IFMA, and IFMA celebrates the international rule sets for Thai boxing. So he kind of makes sure that all of the referees and judges are up to standard, and they always have an educational course. I remember going to the first IFMA, and JJ was out there learning still and revamping what he learned. Also, like people from Canada, the officials from Canada, also revamping what they learned. So it was really awesome to kind of like understand what the quality of judging and refereeing is, because it's not just one certification and you're done. It's multiple certifications. It's refreshing your memory. So he's a really important figure with IFMA. I also remember when shooting my documentary, he took a group of judges and referees that were learning to Lumpini, and they got to shadow the actual Lumpini judges and referees, and they got critiqued on how they scored fights. So this is really valuable and important because it really helps us understand, like, there is an international rule set, and we're trying to bring that here to America.
And also I saw on the referee and judging that we have some additions to it. It's not just JJ, it's not just Stefan. Who else is going to be in part of this seminar?
It's going to be Pistol Pete and Mark DeLuca. So they're going to be they are also the A-class officials of the United States Muay Thai Federation. So they're going to be a part of this as well, which is really cool.
I think all athletes, coaches, fighters, interested people should take the seminar. I did one, I think 4 or 5 years ago at TBA's. And even though I did it only once, and it's something you're supposed to go into more if you're trying to get certified, that experience was very helpful for me. I learned a lot about judging, reffing, scoring, something like how referees are supposed to break up fighters, So now when I watch even very big high level shows, I'm like, oh, that ref is doing something wrong, So it's a really cool experience. And if you're just a fan of the sport or you want to become a better athlete, it's definitely something you should participate in.
Definitely. I agree with that. And let's take the show on the road, Pari.
Awesome. So first, I did a little research on you, and I saw that you've been a referee since 2007.
Yeah.
And with the accolades that you have now, everywhere I'm reading, I see that you're the most experienced, the most qualified, everywhere. And prior to this, Michael Corley and all the staff were telling me, like, you're interviewing one of the best refs in the world. So I want to ask, why, how are you getting these accolades?
It's my passion. It's a lifestyle of mine. Maybe on this way. So it's for me, it's similar, same like how should I say? Maybe it sounds a little bit bad, not so really good, but it's a kind of revolution for me. So in this way, growing up with the sports, I have done it for many years. So I started with some other martial arts. I tried some different, and with the age of, I think I was 19, I think so. So I tried first time a competition. No, it was later. I'm sorry. It was later. Yeah, it was later. So it doesn't matter. So, and first I try Hapkido, and after I try Taekwondo. And so in this case, also for Taekwondo, it was a good experience at this time. And there was only this martial arts club in my gym, in my city. So that's why I tried this one. So after I go to the military, after I come back, and so there was a small problem with the trainer there. He was a Korean guy, so he supported only some special kinds of people. So in this way, I didn't agree. So he didn't play fair. So in this way, that's why we have some miscommunication and misunderstanding of the sports. And so I changed it and was looking for some other one. And so I came to kickboxing. And at this martial arts, I got my first competition experience. And so I like it very well. So I continue, and I'm growing up on this way. But my reason was, most of the time I was the only one crazy guy into the gym who trained a lot, and most of the time he trained alone or traveling around Austria to get more experience, to meet some other people, to exchange the experience, to growing up. And so in this case, I was the one and only in my gym. And also I was the lightest one. It doesn't matter. So in this case, I growing up, and 1.5 years later, no, 1 year later, I go first time for the national championship and to beat the local champion. And so in this way, I was qualified for the European Championship. And so in this way, it was my first, after 2 years, to train on this competition, growing up. And I go to the first international competition. It was the European Championship. And so it was my first international experience. And so since this moment, I follow this way. And
This is all kickboxing, right? Not Muay Thai.
No. So at this time, we don't have Muay Thai in Austria.
Yeah.
It's only kickboxing. And 95, I was traveling at the first time to Thailand. And so it was my first touch with Muay Thai. And since this moment, I was flashed. Also, the people there, the country, the resolution, the relationship between the resolution, the people, the culture, the sports, and so all the things, I was so impressed. And so in this way, since 95, I train Muay Thai.
If I can ask about the trip to Thailand, because for me as an American, I never had the thought or desire to go to Thailand until after I started training Muay Thai. And
Okay.
then I was like, oh, I want to go, I want to learn. But for you, if you hadn't been exposed to Muay Thai at that time, also since I've lived here in Europe, I've realized European people do travel more often outside of their country than Americans do. So what made you want to go to Thailand in the first place?
It's different. So not each of the Austrian people have the same idea for traveling. Some of them go for holidays, some of them go for some adventures, but most of the people, they go only for holidays. So they would like to stay 2 weeks there. They would like to enjoy the beach, they would like to enjoy the hotel, they would like to enjoy the all-inclusive, something like this one. But for me, no. So I don't need all-inclusive. For me, the first time I travel, there are some different places without any tourists. And so it was my first touch with the country, with the people, and got really good experience on this way. And on the first day, I arrived on Phuket. So I had a friend there. He was working there. He was the chief of the kitchen there, and so he was working in a big hotel. And so I visited him on the next day. After arrival, I was looking for some small gyms around this area on Phuket, and so I found one, and I was the one and only Farang. I was the one and only European people there, and so it was very funny. And the first 3 rounds, he gave me the rope, and I have to do it for 3 rounds, but into the sun, no shadow, something like this one, but 3 rounds. Yeah, but so in this way, the next movement was shadow boxing for 3 rounds also, and he saw, okay, I have basically skills in boxing and also some little bit in kicking, but it was a different style, kickboxing kicks or Muay Thai kicks. And so he saw me, and after 3 rounds for shadow boxing, he ordered me to come into the ring, and I have to work with him 5 rounds on the pads. And it was really, really, really hard for me, but never give up, never give up. So in this way, it was really crazy, but I enjoy it. And I think he enjoyed it more than me, to push, to keep, and to train some crazy guy from Austria. So in this way, it was my first experience with Muay Thai, and since this time,
you've been hooked.
Yeah, but it's a different way.
Yeah.
It's a different part of this one. So it was really, really, really good experience for me, for myself. And so after 5 rounds on the pads, he put me to the heavy bags, and I kick into the heavy bag. And I thought, oh my goodness, what happens on this boy? So it was same. If you saw some old movies, it was really a heavy bag, but it was filled with sand.
Yeah.
So in this way, I punch him, I kick him. It hurts so much, it doesn't matter. So he told me I have to use my knee. Okay, I use knee, but the heavy bag doesn't move. So he ordered some other one. I think he was 12 or 13 years old, the guy. So he came to me and showed me how I have to use the knees. But if the Thai guy used the knee on the heavy bag is moving. And if I knee the heavy bag,
Stay still.
It's unbelievable. And so in this way, it was really, really crazy, but I love it. This was my first experiences with Muay Thai, and a couple of years later, I enjoyed it on different places. I had some different teachers, but at this time, it was a little bit difficult to find a good gym, to find a good trainer. Nobody of them speaks English as well, and so the communication was also with hand and feet and some gesture, and it was a big problem. But after many years, so you learn some words, you know the way to communicate, and so it was a good one. And growing up.
Well, so back to the time, it was 1995, correct?
Yeah.
And you enjoyed your time in Thailand. Did you go home to Austria?
Yes.
And when you came back to Austria and you were preparing for the European Championships, how did you did you just go back into kickboxing? Were you a person who brought Muay Thai to Austria? What happened next with your journey?
As well, from Muay Thai, you need every time a good partner to try to train the clinch. So at this time, I have my own gym, and it was very difficult to find a good partner to train some clinching, to try some different style of Muay Thai. So that's why I continue with kickboxing. But also the second part was Muay Thai. So for me, it's very hard to train for myself, but so in this way, I found the second part to train the people, my students. And so that's why I have two parts in my gym, or two sections in my gym. That's for me, for this moment, it was a little bit hard. So I have to continue with kickboxing for some other competitions. So at this time, I changed also to some professional bouts, and growing up on this way. And this was also a very good experience for myself, but I have also some good athletes, some good students, and so to try some Muay Thai fights, kickboxing too. But at this time, we don't have enough Muay Thai tournaments, especially for amateur. That was at this time the problem. So after a couple of years, for example, 2000, 2001, 2002, so the people are more interested in Muay Thai. So since this time, Muay Thai in Austria growing up too. So we can have more focus on Muay Thai, we can train, but we can practice also on competition Muay Thai. That's much more better at this time, but not if I was an active athlete.
So you would say since 2002, there's been more interest. I'd say the same for the United States around the same timeline.
Yeah.
What do you think that is the reason of that? Like why around that specific 2000 to 2002? Is there anything that you would know, especially because you're affiliated with IFMA?
IFMA doesn't exist at this time.
Right.
There was the old federation. It called it IMTF. It was the former federation. And this federation was also active at this time. And I think it was 1999. I was there in Bangkok, or it was 2000. Cannot remember exactly. Too many events. At this moment, at this time, we visited the World Championship. It was not so really big one, but it was really good to see them, some different countries, some different styles, some different athletes, how they prepare themselves for this competition, how they use their own skills for this competition. And so since this time, 1999, 2000, all other countries, especially of Europe, they have now more idea about Muay Thai. And so they pushed Muay Thai more than before. So in this way, since 2000, you can say since 2000, Muay Thai in Europe growing up, same like in Austria. 2000, 2001, it's growing up, and the people are more interested in Muay Thai. So also at this time, there was also, maybe Eurosport.
Yeah, I'm working them tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at this time, there was also the K1 Grand Prix from Japan. And so sometimes there was live broadcasted, sometimes they show some old fights, and people are more interested in K1 style or in Muay Thai. And they have also, at this time, they have, I cannot remember, Kausenor, something like this one. He was a very light Thai athlete. He's fighting against the heavyweight. And one time he knocked Mighty Mo out with a jumping kick or with a flying kick. And so since this time, the people are more interested in Muay Thai. So everybody saw the small Thai guy, he's fighting the heavy guy. And so the people are talking by himself, or they're asking, what's about this guy? Why he can fight the heavyweight? And sometimes he wins, sometimes he loses. But most of the time, he shows a very good performance, and the people are more interested about this guy and his fighting style. And so they get a little bit knowledge, they get a little bit more information to Muay Thai. And so that's why I'm Muay Thai growing up too.
And during this time before you became a referee, which is, I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but obviously you were a fighter, and it sounds like you had your gym at that time. How long were you competing for, and you're still competing? Are you done competing? When did that stop?
Only at my gym with my athletes, with my students. Yeah, not enough time to prepare myself for some competition. And I'm too old. It doesn't matter. No, I was more than 11 or 12 years active as an athlete.
And that transition to being the third man in the ring, you know, protecting the fighters and making sure everybody's safe, healthy, fighting fair. I think for a lot of, I'd say coaches, because this is what I would know more about, when they're not fighting anymore and they just have to be coaches, I feel like many of them are very sad that part of their life is over. How did you feel when you stopped fighting and only was a coach or only was a referee?
I have no doubts about this one, but I tried this one. So in this way, also I had not really bad. I had two special experiments in my active career. So there was two special bouts. I thought by myself, the judges are cheating me. So I thought by myself, I should win this fight. So in this case, I go to the first referee seminar. I would like to know how I have to, or what I have to do to be a winner. So that's why I started with refereeing too. It was 98. It was one competition, I think it was in Switzerland, and one was in Czech. And so that's why I started to be a referee, but not to be a referee inside the ring, but I was more interested about the rules, awarding of points, what I have to do if I would like to be the winner or more. So in this case, why I am growing up as a referee. And at this time, there was not enough referee also in Austria or in Europe. And so some of them, they're asking me, maybe you can be a referee if you're not active, if you are not come with your athletes. So they invite me to be a referee. They know me very well as an athlete. So they know it well, what happens with my person. I was an athlete, I was a trainer, I am a trainer at this time. And so now I continue with like growing up as a referee too. So this was also the next step. It was not with intention for the moment. So it was only step by step. At first an athlete and a trainer, and to be a referee only for my own interests. What I have to do to be a winner, something like this one. So that's why I became a referee also. And so in this case, I growing up as a referee. So after my last bout, more organizer came to me and invited me to this event or to their events to be a referee. And so I create also some referee teams in Austria or in Europe. And so in this case, it's going to be hand in hand with some other one.
And you say something that I think is very important, that you said you went to be a referee or to study because you want to know how to win, correct? And especially with Muay Thai in the United States, it's still growing and there's still so much to be done, which is why the qualifiers we're trying to emphasize isn't just about the tournament, it's the opportunities to watch this high level Muay Thai and to see for everybody. It's a good takeaway for everybody to grow the sport. So I really want to touch on the seminar that you're a part of. Why would you say it's so important for not just coaches or aspiring referees, but even the athletes to participate in this seminar? What will they learn?
Basically knowledge about the rules, especially awarding of points, fouls, cautions, warning, why they get the warning, why they have to take care about the opponent, or when they have to take care about the opponent, and they have to listen, they have to obey the commands of the referee, something like this one. And also for the beginners or for some experienced referees, it's very important the requirement to be a referee. It's very important too. Most of the people think there's no age limit or everybody can go inside the ring, but they cannot. So fundamental requirements mean they must have a basic knowledge in Muay Thai. But for me, a very good referee is this guy who trained by himself. Maybe he was an athlete before. But for me, it's very important if the referee train and if the referee knows what happens, if he received a very hard kick to the leg or a knee to the stomach, maybe he got this experience during the sparring or during the training. So in this way, if he got this experience, so he know it very well when the referee or when he work as a referee, when he have to stop the bout to protect the athletes. This is the main priority of the referee, to protect the athletes. All the athletes are our future. Without athletes, we are nothing. That's very important. This is also a big point to the requirement to be a referee. To train by himself, basic knowledge in Muay Thai, but not everybody must be a high level athlete before, it doesn't matter. But the basic knowledge they should have, they must have, they should train by himself or herself, it doesn't matter. And they should know what happens when they have to stop the bout, and they should protect the athletes when they have to open the count, for example.
What you're saying is very helpful because I've gone to IFMA several times and I've gone with athletes that's their first time, it's their first exposure to IFMA. So something will happen, or they'll watch a fight and they see a fighter, the match gets stopped, what feels for them very early, and they don't know that it's for the fighter's safety. And also, as I said before, I live in Holland and I have been going to these kickboxing fights, and I feel like the referees just let them die. Like they let their heads hit the ground a few times, things like this.
Yeah.
Especially being in the US and being around a lot of like IFMA style referee, to see those things for me is horrific. It's terrible to see that happen to the fighters.
For me, it's unnecessary punishment.
Yeah.
So the referee must protect the athletes. And this is also a way why all athletes, also the coaches, the trainers, should visit a referee course. They should know the basic knowledge for scoring, to take care about the athletes, something like this one. But if the trainer or the coach doesn't know what happens to this athlete, for sure he will lose these athletes. If the athlete received unnecessary punishment, for sure maybe he will not continue the competition, or he will stop with Muay Thai, something like this one. So I saw also a very, very bad decision of some referees, and also which one I didn't understand, if the trainer see his athlete, he received unnecessary punishment, so why he didn't stop the bout? It's also the power of the judge or of the trainer to throw the towel.
Right.
So they have every time the possibility to do this on this way. But it's not only the referee's fault, it's also the fault of the coaches.
Yeah, to protect their athlete.
Yes, yeah. So that's very important. But for sure, at first, the referee should know when he has to stop the bout. But you know as well, if you go, for example, the qualifier for the World Games. So everybody prepare the athletes, for example, 3-4 months, and everybody are hungry for this competition. And they prepare for himself, and everybody would like to do, for sure, they would like to try the best. And sometimes the referee didn't know the athletes, but the coaches know their own athletes as well. They should know it. And so in this way, the athlete should be protected by the coaches. And if the coach or the trainer see the athlete cannot protect himself, or he saw some movements where he didn't saw him on these movements before, so maybe he got some kicks to the leg, and so he cannot move, and the referee was on the opposite side, so he cannot see it. So it's also part of the trainer to throw the towel, stop the bout.
With the qualifiers, and I keep mentioning IFMA because I'd say 99% of the American athletes that have competed internationally have either done so in Thailand or have done so for IFMA. As far as you know, the rules for the actual World Games, is it going to be IFMA rules? Can you explain?
IFMA rules, yeah. The IFMA rules. But you know, the biggest difference between the rules is also this is also for the most Thai athletes a little bit confused. If you go as an athlete to Thailand and to train there, you saw many different techniques if you watch some IFMA bouts. So in most of the time, they train professional Muay Thai. And professional Muay Thai, it's big different to IFMA. Sure. And it's also big different to WMC. You know as well, IFMA and WMC is similar the same, but WMC is the professional way of the IFMA athletes, and the IFMA, they have to fight with the whole equipment. And also it's a big difference if you're fighting in Bangkok, for example, Lumpini Stadium or Ratchatham Stadium or Rayong Stadium on Phuket, something like this one. Each of the stadium have their own rules. And sometimes if you have famous athletes fighting out there, for example, Burkhardt, not Phil Burkhardt, I mean Sanjay. But in all rules, they have the same regulation inside. If an athlete touch the floor without any part of the legs, the referee has to stop it. But you know as well, the Sanjay kick, he touched with the fist the floor and he kicked to the head. But in all other stadiums, these techniques are forbidden. But if Sanjay are fighting there, they let them continue.
Wow, I never knew this.
Yeah, that's the difference. And also in IFMA, the main priority of the referees to take care about the athlete. And if you go to Thailand, you saw a lot of fights that don't care about the athletes. That's the big difference too. And on the other way, if you watch professional fights and IFMA fights, you saw many different techniques and you didn't understand the scoring system then too. That's also, but for professional bouts, sweeping are okay, throwing are okay, but in IFMA, it's forbidden.
To protect the fighters.
Yes.
Yeah. And something that I think as a woman that's different to see when I watch fights in general in the US, Muay Thai, MMA, whatever it is, if someone gets kicked in the groin, usually they have a little bit of time to recover, but IFMA, it's not the case, correct?
Yeah, in IFMA we have the case, yeah. The athlete
you also have time to recover.
Yeah, they can take the time of 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, if they cannot continue, they lose by injury.
From what I've seen is they're telling the athlete to continue. At least that's what I've seen. Or maybe it's because, you know, like I was in IFMA in Bangkok and I saw some fresh fighters first time. Yeah. And, you know, turning your back, stuff like this, that signals you don't want to fight, that ends the fight, you know? Is that one of those things?
It can be. But you know as well, the main priority of the athlete is to protect himself or herself each time of the bout. And so if one of the athletes turn the back to the opponent can kick the back, he can kicking, he can elbowing, he can kneeing his opponent. And on this way, the next part is he can do it 1 time, maximum 2 times. And after this one, the referee has to stop the bout and have to open the count to protect the athlete.
Yeah.
That's the difference. In professional one, they let them continue.
The referees and what is happening in the US is I'm seeing a lot more women becoming referees, a lot more women being interested. I think
that's really good. We need more female referees.
My favorite part, one of my favorite memories of this last IFMA was there was an Iranian girl, and I believe she was fighting a Turkish girl, and there was a female ref. And obviously, for me, it's very exciting to see like all these women in the ring, especially because I'm Iranian, seeing you know, women who maybe traditionally don't get those opportunities to fight, or for, you know, to be offered the chance to fight isn't something women from that country get very often. So do you see a lot of women becoming refs in IFMA? Is that an opportunity that's being given, or do you just see more people being interested in general?
The biggest problem on this way is many of the countries, they don't have enough female referees. Also, some of them, they have more female athletes, some of them have less female athletes or referees. But in general, we need more female referees. That's a problem. But on the other side, we need well-educated referees. So this is also one of my things and also one of my ideas. So I create a standard. Because a couple of years ago, I have my idea, and so in this way, It should be a standard for refereeing, for judging, for scoring on this way. But at first, each national federation must have a head referee, which must be educated by IFMA. That's very important. And if the national head referee are educated by IFMA, so he can teach the local referees too. So indeed, it's same like a pyramid, as well. They have the head referee, they have some provincial referees, they have the state referees, they have the local referees, and so all together must working together. And if the head referees start with the education, and he have the education by IFMA, so he know what's going on and he know the procedure, how and what he have to teach. It's the best way for the future too, and especially for the female. The best female referees are this one. There was an athlete before, and also, or there was a good trainer. There was a good athlete, not really a fighter, only an athlete. So they have a good experience by herself. So in this way, it's very important for them. It's very good, so they know what's going on and they know what they have to tell, what they have to take care about this one, and so, and that's very important. And so that's why we have also focus for the female referees in our federation for the future too.
With that standard that you mentioned, and creating like IFMA's rule set or refining it, I was told you had a big hand in that process, refining the rule set and making it so that it's as fair as possible, it's the best fighting possible. Could you tell me more about that?
At first, it doesn't matter which country our athletes come. It doesn't matter. So we have red corner, we have the blue corner. So you know it as well, especially for Olympia or for some Olympic Games, if Iran, Iraq fighting against Israel, most of the time there are some problems.
Yeah.
And for me, no politic inside.
Yeah, of course.
You can do it out, it doesn't matter. I don't care about some political, I will do Muay Thai. And so we have the red opponent, we have the blue opponent. And the better one will win. It doesn't matter if this guy are from, or the lady are from Austria against Germany or something like this one. So we have red, we have blue. And each of the referees must be neutral. And that's it. It was, for example, it was 3 years or 4 years ago at the World Championship at Bangkok. There was one guy from, I cannot remember which country, but he was not good relationship to Israel. And so he has posted some bad words on Facebook. I saw him, order him to me. I tell him, if I'm this man who can decide it to send you home immediately, I will do it. So you can take a luggage and you can leave this venue. But I'm not in this position to send you home, but I can disqualify you for this event. So we do sports, we don't do political, and that's it. Each of the referees must be neutral and fair, and that's a very simple one.
Right,
That's
you
it.
can see the vest color, not anything other. That's also why the athletes can't bring their flags into the ring with them, correct?
Yeah.
With the preparation of the World Games, we're really trying to emphasize to our American athletes and their fans that this tournament is not just a tournament, it's to decide which athletes go to the World Games, which I would say is like second to the Olympics, if that. It's a huge deal. Why is this such an important thing for an athlete to compete in the World Games? How is it different from IFMA?
It's IFMA, but it's under the umbrella of IOC, under the umbrella of the 5 rings. This is part of the 5 rings games, and this is also, for the moment, is our highest tournament that we have with IFMA in IFMA. And also, as well, each of the local Olympic federations support the national federation if they go to the World Games. And this is also very important for the future. In next year, we have the European Olympic Games in Poland. And this is also a very big step for us for the future. Maybe 2024, we are part of the Olympic Games in Paris. Maybe nobody knows it for the moment, but this is our main priority to be. But we are part of the Olympic Games. We are full recognized member in IOC, but not a full recognized full medal sports. That's the difference. And so that's our dream to be a full member sports on the IOC maybe on the Olympic or Summer or Olympic Games, but more on the Summer Olympic Games, maybe 24 or 28, maybe 28 in, I think it was in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe at this time. So this is also a goal of everybody, of the athletes. This is a goal of IFMA to be a part of a full member, a full medal sports of IOC. The World Games is also a high level for the IOC. It's under the umbrella of IOC, and that's why it's very important for IFMA to be a part at this game, to be with this event on the World Games in Alabama.
What's missing for us to be a full member? What's left for us to accomplish?
That's a good question. If you know it, if you knew the answer, we can continue. I don't know. You know as well, everybody would like to be a small piece of the cake, of the IOC cake. So there are many different sports. Maybe you follow the IOC, and 2 years ago, they had a problem with the IOC, with the boxing, with the AIBA. And so they have made many faults. There were many mistakes inside the federation. They have some problem with the president. And so also they had a big problem with the referees and the judges, especially at the Olympic Games in London. I saw a lot of bouts, and this decision, what I saw, I cannot believe. It's really horrible. And so since these Olympic Games in London, they are under control of the IOC border, and they have to change many things. And last year at the Olympic Games, it was not AIBA, the organizer of the boxing event. It was all the IOC organized the boxing event with the referees of the Boxing Federation. But it doesn't call them AIBA, it's only boxing of IOC, I think so. And now they have to create a new federation, not really a new federation. They have selected a new president for the Boxing Federation, but not for the moment. It's not AIBA, it's only IBA. I think it's IBA. I think it's only International Boxing Association, not AIBA, sondern only IBA. So they have a new name with a new president. So now we will see what happens for the future. But it was really close before to kick them out of the Olympic family. But especially in Japan, karate was inside, but only for these Olympic Games. The hosted country can select one sport for the Olympic Games, and they select karate. It's a traditional sport. And so it was only the first and the last time karate to be a full medal sport.
So if the Olympics were in Thailand, they could have selected Muay Thai as an Olympic sport, basically.
There was some special agreement, but normally they can. But you know as well, there was some political decisions. We don't know what happens behind the stage, but there was some special solution for karate at the Olympic Games in Japan. And this is also why we are praying for 2024 for the Olympic Games in Paris. The French Federation for Muay Thai are very strong, and then have an athlete who will go also to the World Games. It's Jimmy Vignon. He starts.
I saw him fight.
Yeah. So at first he starts the competition in 75 kg category, but now he lose weight. Now he was at the World Championship in Bangkok. He's fighting at 71. So he was qualified for the World Games. So he will fighting at the World Games in -71. And so this is also an idea, maybe if he make a good performance and he won one medal or a medal for him or for the French Federation, maybe the French Olympic Committee see this performance and they're really happy about this one. So maybe they select Muay Thai for these Olympic Games. So hopefully there are many options. They can select Muay Thai or they select another one. So nobody knows it for the moment.
So we all should be hoping Jimmy does well at the World Games. The future of Muay Thai in the Olympics rests on Jimmy.
Not only on Jimmy, but he was focused on this one. There's so many different things must working together, and especially for the Olympic Games, there are so much political insight, and nobody knows exactly what happens, and nobody of us will know it for sure. That's it.
Well, something you said earlier that I just want to make clear for everybody who's going to be listening to this. it's so important to have great referees, great judges, educated, because like you were saying about the Olympics in London, you saw a lot of athletes work extremely hard to have the opportunity taken away from them in an unfair way due to refereeing or judging. So I think if someone truly cares about this sport and wants to see it grow, especially because we're trying so hard for it in the United States, participating in your seminar is going to be very important, because you don't ever want to have to leave it up to the judges, but if it is, you want to know that your judges and your referees know what they're doing and they're looking out for you. They're looking out to have the best fight possible.
For the World Games, they are qualified the highest educated athletes, the experienced referees, the best athletes at the world. And some fights can be very, very close. So they only maybe one strike more can decide about or something like this one. So in this way, it's very important to have very good educated referees. They must know exactly what happens, how they have to score, what they have to score, what they have to observe. So in this way, it doesn't matter if the athlete using more boxing skills or elbowing skills, or he use more clinching skills, something like this one. So in IFMA, we have some criteria to create a winner. Which one strikes more than the opponent should be the winner of this round. But if both strikes similar the same one, the other one, for example, red one is kicking more, the other one is kneeing more, but some of them have the same number of strikes. So we have different criteria to create a winner. And if the athletes, if the referee have a good education and they know each point of the rules very well, so they can create the correct winner. That's very important for the future. To have a very good education and to know exactly what happens with the rules and what's written inside the rules.
And my last question for you is, what advice would you have for our American athletes to do well at the qualifiers? If some of them didn't make it to the reffing and judging courses before, so what's a little thing maybe they can keep in mind as they compete?
Fair fights, fight hard, fight strong. Play fair, yeah, that's it, and follow the rules, obey the commands of the referee, and I'm really sure everybody show the best performance at their life. And so in this way, I'm really excited about this one, and I'm really sure we will see a lot of very good athletes. We will see a very good fights and fair fights, and the best one receive the qualification for the World Games. That's for sure.
Will you be reffing at the World Games, or are you going to go as a coach?
No, I'm referee, yeah.
Okay, well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. See you.
Thanks, everybody, for listening to my interview with Gunter. Before you go, though, there's still some more information to share. I don't know why Jeff is saluting off. Oh, it's his. I have a Muay Thai tattoo. My armpit. So anyways, we have some information about the live stream. Jeffrey, if you'd like to tell our listeners.
So we will be hosting a live stream all 4 days, and the first day is going to be free through Boxing TV. They have been such an amazing partner here. They've really helped us with our live stream that we have put together as a media team. Thank you to Rosie and her tireless efforts of just troubleshooting and debugging the whole thing. We're also probably going to do episode 4 there live on our YouTube. It's going to be featuring a lot of the people behind the scenes of the USMF, so stay tuned for that. But just be prepared for an amazing live stream. It's not just something where we're putting 2 cameras up and letting it go. It's going to be more of an interactive feed where people can really see what's going on. Something that, I wish other promotions would have. And again, this is going to be our first one, so it's going to be super cool.
All right, everybody, we'll see you guys at the fights. And this was Corley's Corner.
Cue the music.
Okay, done. This episode was sponsored by the USMF media team, because we did a lot of stuff for you guys to see this thing. So appreciate it.
For those of you that have this shirt, you know where it's from. Peace.
From the old school generation.
For the true school generation.
Okay, that's it. Is there anything else? You know, the feedback I got was that the episodes are funny.
Really?
Yeah, that's the one I got the most about the feedback. I can read.
Yeah, let's read some feedback. Let's add this too. Let's read some feedbacks.
Perry, my chest, LMAO, dead face, dead face, dead face, dead face, dead face. You got me cracking up listening to this podcast. This is so good. Not you.
It's probably because you couldn't pronunciate the names correctly.
Not you struggling with these.
Lee.
Dead face. And then you're asking Jeff to take over because you're tired of butchering them. You really have a voice for podcasts. I was like, oh, well, thank you. Clowning on Jeff, calling him old, hilarious.
Great. Thanks. Thank you. I'm going to have a wheelchair next time I go to the fucking podcast because I'm so old. How's that?
You're so old when you cough, dust comes out.
Holy shit, dude. Dinosaur bones come out my nose when I sneeze.
Wow. How old are you, Jeff? 47?
I'm 52.
Ooh.
I'm a living fossil, according to Pari.
How are we gonna get Michael on I don't think Rosie superimposed him anywhere. It would be cool if Michael was sitting on someone's shoulder during the podcast. Bing. You know? Like you just bing. And then there's
Can
Michael.
we put Mike here?
Bing.